Fly fishing, a timeless tradition that connects us to the wild rivers and streams we cherish. But did you know that this beloved pastime relies heavily on the health of aquatic insects? Aquatic insects like mayflies, caddisflies and stoneflies are the foundation of the fly fishing ecosystem. These tiny creatures indicate clean water and sustain the fish that makes our sport possible. Unfortunately, pollution, habitat loss, climate change, and pesticides are taking a toll on these vital insects. As their numbers decline, so do the fish that depend on them, and the future of fly fishing hangs in the balance. But there's hope. Fly fishermen can lead the way in conservation. By practicing catch and release, we protect the fish populations, and by supporting stream restoration projects, we help to restore the habitats insects need to thrive. The money generated from fly fishing through tourism, gear sales, and fishing licenses can be channeled into conservation efforts, protecting not just the insects and fish, but the entire ecosystem. This economic support can fund initiatives like habitat restoration, invasive species management, and environmental education. You can also tie your own flies using patterns that mimic local species, reducing environmental impact. By protecting insects, we protect our waters and ensure that the tradition of fly fishing thrives for generations to come.
There you go, small little bass. It's unfortunately an alien species, but it's still fun and it still keeps us in the game fishing. Awesome, so I thought I'd quickly take you through my little fly tie box, my own fly tied box. These are some of the flies that I've tied myself. It has basically everything that you need to fish some small rivers, some little ponds. It's basically targeting a bit more smaller species, trout, bass, some of the native species we have in South Africa. It has basically everything here, some stuff, everything from a maggot to maggot variants to mayfly larvae as they are in the worm-like stage, if I can call it that. Even the first instars we try and mimic, and then we have the just after they've flown, they lose their wings, they fall back, and sometimes you need to get down low, and we have these little hairy ones that try to mimic the broken wings and the legs. Then this is a pretty cool one. You can see I've used it before, and it's one of my favorite insects to tie and use. We know it as a Geridae. It's the watered puppies, or the insects we know that run on the water, and it's a bit of a color variant. It has the orange legs, and that's what its profile looks like. We try to mimic it as close as possible. Then we get to those are all sinking flies, bottom flies. Then we get to some topwater flies. These always the hardest to tie. We have some mosquito flies over here. Try and show it to you. If you look at that, it looks a bit like its. If you look at that, it looks a bit like its wings. It has those two tails, typical of those big male mosquitoes you get in your house. Then let's put that back, and we have some color variants on that as well. Then some of my favorites to tie is like this grasshopper. I'll try and show that to you. Little grasshopper with an indicator on its top. We see that's supposed to mimic its wings to an extent to keep it afloat. It's made out of foam, and that's the view the fish would see from the bottom. And as you can see, it should fool a fish from time to time. And then one of my all-time favorites to tie. It's a little dung beetle, or whatever beetle you try and mimic, but that's a pretty near mimication of a beetle that we'd find, and it works perfect for yellowfish in South Africa, especially Clan William Dam. And that's the bottom view you might find. And yeah, this is one of my favorite flies to fish and to tie, and you'll see we put these little yellow indicators on top just for us fishermen whose eyesight might start leaving us. We use that to just indicate and see where our flies are. Thank you very much. Good shot. There we go. That's a nice, a bit better bass. They don't get as big as where they originate from. They originate from the United States, but the ones we get down here normally tend to get a bit smaller. They are in a dam. Normally when they're out in the bigger lakes in the United States, they get quite a bit bigger. But this is a nice fish. It's fine on a little 4-weight fly rod, and it's exactly what we came for today. Send it back home. Fly fishing is something I like to call poetry in motion. It's an art form, it's a way of life, it's a sport for some crazy people, but when you're there, it's one of the most fun things you could ever do. It's a combination of skill, luck, perseverance, and a bit of craziness. Today, I just wanted to say, I just brought a mate out here to show him a bit of what fly fishing is about, and it made me think there's so many things good about fly fishing. If you were to introduce one person every day, you could conserve probably every river in the whole of South Africa. Purely because the more people you get into fly fishing, the more people are conscious of the water bodies. They're conscious of what's happening in these water bodies, the pollution in them. It makes people care more about nature. I have been fishing most of my life. Since I was a young boy, I've always loved fly fishing, and it's become a big part of myself and who I am, and the conservation and efforts I've put towards saving certain water bodies purely because of fishing. A great example of that is like the Clan William yellowfish, an extremely endangered species at the moment in South Africa, purely because of bass, the endangered, the alien species that we've caught today. Absolutely decimated their populations in all the rivers in the Cederberg area. They were usually prominent in all those rivers, and now it's an absolute marvel if you get to catch one in one of those rivers. Also, the trout that's been released in those rivers absolutely decimate these native species. And yeah, it's a sad truth, and we are always here as fly fishermen to conserve, to catch and release, to put back, to give back to what the waters give to us. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.